Hello, Amber.
Hello, Jen. Are you ready for
Woo!
this? This book is a fun one because I know how much you loved it. I know. So,
Die for it.
so this book is book one in a series, and I'm going to give you a little backstory. This book has been coming up on my feed probably for the last year or so, and I've always just kept it on my TBR. And I brought it up to Jen and I was like, look, there's this like billionaire romance, workplace romance. She was like, say no more. Let's dive into
Sold.
the first one. And I assumed, and we all know what happens when you assume, right? You make an ass out of you and me. So
Correct.
I assumed this was going to be like one of those interconnected standalone book series and that we were going to go by each person, maybe friends or family members in this series. That is not the case. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
you were wrong. You
yes,
were very wrong.
thank you so much. So, when you get into this series, you can read book one and be happy ish. I mean, I was happy ish. Jen was like, we have the cliffhanger. We got to go to book two. And I was like,
No, it was I think on this one it was FYI I'm reading book 2. I'm not sure where you are.
that was exactly what happened. And I was like, I read the last pages and I was like, oh, and I messaged you and I was like, I don't feel like I need to go on. And you're like, what?
And I'm like, "You're wrong. Let's just say you're wrong
Again,
'cause it
again.
needs to be read right now."
So we're only going to talk about book one. We may sprinkle stuff in from the rest of the series.
Welcome to Morally Gray Babes. We're your hosts, Jen and Amber, two unapologetic book addicts, diving deep into the steamiest reads, hottest book boyfriends, and those spicy moments that make you blush.
Amber here, and we're not just here to talk plot twists and character arcs. We're breaking down everything from our favorite quotes to the spice levels that really bring the heat.
Expect a lot of laughs, a little cussing, and some seriously hot takes. Whether we're gushing over fictional men or dishing out the truth on what books deserve the hype, nothing is off limits.
So buckle up, Buttercup, and get ready for real, raw, and totally unfiltered book talk. Because we're the book besties you didn't know you needed. I want to say this is a 5-book series. It's called The Wolf Hotel Book.
K.A. Tucker. Never heard of this author, so I was very happy to find a new author
Yes.
that I love.
So, Wolf Hotel, it starts with book one, Tempt Me. It's not an interconnected standalone. They need to be read in order. You have to go from book one all the way to the end. It focuses on one male main character and one female main character throughout the whole book. So, it dives into this like sultry depths of Tempt Me, the first book, like I said, in the Wolf Hotel series, where luxury meets lust in an unforgettable escapade, right? You have Henry Wolf, this enigmatic owner of the Wolf Hotel, a man who's like short business acumen. He's only matched by his magnetic charm. There are some scandals of the like, I don't know how to say it. I'm like giving gestures, but there are some romantic scandals in his past. Everything is not what it seems, I guess I should say, without giving it away.
Yes. Yes. I think that's a good way of putting it.
And then you have this Abigail, right? She is this small town, very naive, very untouched, very ambitious young woman. And she lands a job at this snow-clad sanctuary of like secrets and sparks fly and boundaries blur, right? You have this, I know Jen's like, yeah, let's talk more. This icy Alaskan backdrop is nothing compared to the heat between those two. It's not just a story about falling in love, it's about finding yourself amidst the wilderness of desire and the cunning traps of fate. And that is my thoughts on Tempt Me. We could talk more about Henry. I want to say that Jen loved this book. Okay, people, we're just going to put Jen loved this book. And she's going to share more.
Yeah, I will say that the way that I describe Henry, because it starts off as a professional relationship that quickly spirals into something much more intense and forbidden. And Henry is a controlling and possessive, but not in a toxic way. Of course, we're talking about a book, not real life, but it's more in a way of, I want you and I'm going to make you know it way that makes you swoon and scream at the same time.
But it's a yes, but it's also secretive, right? Nobody can know because
Because yes,
because
there were
it's
things in
scandals,
his past that
scandals
he
in the past.
cannot have that happen.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. So I would say that Henry Wolf is the book boyfriend, like we said. I would say his personality is like mysterious and commanding. He like
Mysterious is
exudes,
really good.
he,
Commanding is really good. Good word. Good
he-
words, Miss Pappy expert.
so he exudes this commanding presence. He's a man who knows what he wants, isn't afraid to go after it. His mysterious aura only adds to his allure, making him this like irresistible enigma. He's intensely proactive. Like with a name like Wolf, it's no surprise that he is fiercely protective, like Jen said. His love and loyalty run super deep, and he's quick to shield those he cares about from any threat. He's a very charismatic leader. He's not just a boss, he's a leader. He's confident, and it makes him natural at guiding others, whether in business ventures or personal in the sheets moments, right? I would say that his quirks is that he's like this lone wolf with a soft spot, right? He may present with a hardened exterior of the world, but he has a soft spot for those he lets close.
Yeah.
And it kind of that tender side contrasts with that tough like facade that he has. He's also business savvy with a taste for adventure. Like running hotel isn't about the sheets and the showers, it's about creating this experience. And he brings that adventure to his enterprise, always looking for the next big thing to enchant his guests. But I would say he's very keen to keeping up traditions and memories of the past, right? That
Yeah.
piece of
He inherits this island, not island, I guess
peninsula.
area of
Yeah.
peninsula. Yeah. He inherits this from his grandfather. And so his perfectionism and everything that's done in this launch of this new hotel is like precise. Like he is not his reputation and his family name are like the most important, I would say.
Yes. I would say so too. Like, well, not so much for him, but for his father. And he all he wants is to keep that land. He doesn't want the land to go to his brother who would just destroy it. He wants
Correct.
to have that legacy that his grandfather left and keep that from being destroyed. And he's putting everything he can into the location of this, what do they call it? Like a seasonal hotel, right? It's only going to be
Yeah.
operational in the summer. And so
Yeah.
you have this charismatic, mysterious, confident leader who has kind of a reputation around him with the ladies. And then you have this very naive, recently heartbroken and destroyed small town college girl who is
Virgin also. And we'll put that out
virgin.
there. That's not a
We should say this is an
secret.
18 plus podcast today.
Well,
So
yeah, yeah. Well, we have it actually marked on the podcast,
okay,
so
good.
everyone knows if they're coming into this room that it's going to be 18
Explicit.
plus.
So he like you have her, and I would say this story is a lot about her growth. I love Henry's why he does things. I wish he communicated it a little bit better
You mean a lot more? Like the
or
whole
at
book
all.
is a little bit of miscommunication. Let's just put that out there. You're
Yeah.
very accurate. Yeah.
Oh, I'm right. Two wrongs and one right. So let's keep going. So I loved her journey of growth into the person that she is, getting more confident, getting more confidence with her body and sexually. I loved Henry guiding her through that. I wish there was more. Miscommunication is like my least favorite thing.
I
Amnesia,
agree.
miscommunication, like accidental pregnancy, second chances, And so I'm not saying there was accidental pregnancy in this, but
No,
there was
no, 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 no.
that
But this was hard
miscommunication.
on miscommunication. This was hard.
It was heavy.
And I don't know why it
You want
didn't
it
turn me
to-
off. Like 99% of the books with miscommunication do. I think it was enough sexual chemistry that like it kept me going.
And I would say like the sexual chemistry was like only in like the second half of the book. Like it was a lot of tension.
Yeah. And it was very much
And
camp high school vibes also, because
summer
there are
camp
all
vibes,
these young people that are staying in what feels like a camp situation.
bunk style places.
And the drama and all that kind of stuff as well. So that was a big piece of it, I would say, on this first book.
Yeah. So
Well, on multiple books, I should say too.
so Henry Wolf from Tempt Me, I think, is like your quintessential brooding hero with a heart of gold. He's wrapped up in this suave businessman's sharp suit. So if you're drawn to men who are smart, successful, they're swoon worthy, and they have a vicious tongue in the bedroom, like
Yum.
he is sure to be your next book boyfriend crush. I know he was Jen's.
He is in the top 3, let me just tell you, for me.
Yes.
He's yes.
But
I've read all the books but the last one. So
yes.
yeah.
And we're not going to talk about all of them. This is,
nope,
I feel like
we're not.
this series, we're just going to talk about the first one.
Yeah, because there's lots of surprises and we don't want to ruin it for you guys at all.
Exactly. And
like,
since we kept reading, it's hard to think back to like, where did book 1 end in this series?
Oh, I know.
Well, I know as well, but it's like
yes,
when we're talking, I'm like,
yeah,
like
it is a little hard.
But I want to say this was like a solid read for me. The other thing, I know we talk about irks a lot.
Well, it's important to talk about those. Yeah.
I think what irked me with this book, and I like when I say it irks me, it's like, I mean, I can like grammatical errors are fine when they use words that are redundantly. Those are like irks, right? With like grammar and things. If there's too much internal dialogue, that kind of irks me too.
Ugh,
This book didn't have any of that. I think what irked me was some of the characters and maybe hitting a little like I couldn't see how they got there. And I think it's just because maybe my personalities are different, or if I was in a similar situation, I would have handled it different. It has nothing to do with the author. It has nothing to do with the story.
No.
And we like this, it just irked me that the small town naive college girl with a very controlling narcissistic parental figure, it just like hit a bit too close to home at some points throughout the book, and I just got very frustrated. And then when another parental figure, and I'm just going to leave it as that, gets sick, it was the same condition as one of my parental figures, and I just like, Jen, I have to stop away. I have to step away. We can't do this. I'm like,
read something else.
There was a lot that was like just too close to home with like personalities, with certain experiences. Now, I didn't have a Henry Wolf in my life, and I was like questioning like what wrong choices did I make in college to not have a Henry Wolf?
No, Dusty, your cinnamon roll husband is perfection for you, so we're not going to look at that.
He is definitely perfection, but I was like, oh my gosh, there were so many parallels, and it was just like, this is crazy. Of like her way of thinking, and certain things that happened to her were a little close to home, and like how people acted towards her was a little close to home for me. But it was I think that irked me the most. And I had on the book a couple of times.
Yeah, and I think you and I talked about this also via Voxer, like throughout these books, but in particular for this book, there is miscommunication throughout the whole book. And there are moments within this book that it was irritating me, and I loved the book. So I can imagine that part of that was an irk as well. Like that's the only irk I have was,
oh, so bad miscommunication.
She should have just said that, or he should have just said that instead of the whole, paragraph or chapter about this subject, and then coming back and finding like
for all this time has passed, and like we're still dealing with this big miscommunication. And I think
in multiple books, it wasn't just this book. So
and so that is one thing that my cinnamon roll husband does really well, is communicate, because he knows how much I hate miscommunication. I'm like, if you feel a certain way, something happens, you have to tell me. I like
in the moment, not later.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't pick up on signs,
You can
okay?
even go
Like,
back and fix what happened if it's not in the moment. That's the
yeah,
point, right? Yeah.
exactly, and I feel like the storyline, I know it did it to move it forward, but there was so much miscommunication. So if miscommunication is not your bag, maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah, or I don't like miscommunication, but I love this book. So maybe try it out and see what happens,
Maybe,
right? Like,
maybe, maybe it is. And
I,
I liked the book. I liked Henry. I loved their journey. I loved her growth. I didn't love it as much as you.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Yes,
I
because
was
I
totally
like
fine too.
started reading the second book. Like
And
you
I
were
think when I
searching for another book. I'm like, go ahead and search for another book, but I'm reading
it's so funny
this.
because like I was starting book 2 and you're like, I'm on book 4. I'm like, holy crap. And I told my husband, I was like, I gotta catch up. Like it's like I'm not even close.
Yes. Yes. I would say that probably Abby's character growth is one of the highlights for me. I think you mentioned that as well
Mhm.
for yours. She starts off like innocent, a virgin, and really unsure of herself and her decisions. And she like finds strength and sexual confidence, a lot of sexual confidence, as Henry like pushes her out of her comfort zone, but she also is embracing the experience. And the setting of remote Alaskan resort really kind of added to the isolation and intensity of their relationship for me, which I never would have guessed. So it was a nice surprise that I liked that. And then also, for as confident in himself as he comes across, Henry, she's as not confident as and comes across extraordinarily naive the same way. And so to see those two sort of like get together, it was like fireworks to
I
me.
think that was another thing that irked me was that I could not see what attracted him to her in like until she had some growth. Like you have this man, obviously it's an age gap, right?
Yeah.
But you have this man who's very confident and very sure of himself, and she's like stumbling over herself and doesn't believe in herself. And I don't know. I struggled a little because I was like, what is it besides just her body? Besides just like you don't
No,
want
I
to
think,
just,
but she does speak her mind
but it
throughout.
wasn't in the very
Like,
beginning. It was kind of like,
a little bit. So she was fearful in the beginning, and
yes.
then she started getting a little braver, and she started getting a little braver. I mean, my irk about this book was her insecurity. Like,
Well, that's
I
it. I was like,
really
how did you
love
find that attractive when he's so confident?
because it when I was reading it in the first book, it felt like even though she was insecure, she seemed or appeared or came across as open to trying to be secure or trying new things. Like, I don't want to give it away, so I'm stumbling over my words a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit, but he liked her from the moment, well, I don't even want to say that,
we're
but
gonna say
video
that.
submission
I
to
wasn't gonna
be
say that.
there.
I was just gonna
Well,
say he
yeah,
liked her. He saw something in her, and I wish they would have harped on that.
I
That's what I'm
agree.
trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. I wish they would have harped on that aspect that he saw something in her, because whenever you get him and his, he always just, it felt like to me, he was only talking about what she was willing to do or what her
Or
man was
physical,
able to
yes.
do. So I just wish it was more, I wish it was more depth on his character in that way.
I
And it
saw
gets there. It gets
yeah,
there through the
of
books.
course. Like, the details of her and I'm just saying filming a video to get this job, like, that's the very beginning of the story, right? So I don't know that that's giving it away necessarily, but her whole focus was to be outside and work outside, and it's what she loved. And if there's anything that Henry loves, it's the outdoors. That's what he loved the most about growing up with his
Yeah,
grandparent or
I think
visiting
what
his
he
grandparent.
saw in the video was she was also doing a lot of things, right? She was quick on her feet to think, and then she
Yes.
was a budding entrepreneur, and she was always helpful and eager to learn. But he didn't harp on that. Like that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like
No, he didn't. I made that up in my head, or that's what I got across from it. And so for me, that was enough.
Fair enough.
That was
But for
just
me,
enough for me to love it.
I think that's what I wish in books. And it's not this one. It's just like in the books that
No.
we read. It's just like, it feels like the men not only, that's generalizing, and I don't want to do that, but most of the books that we read, the girl's like, oh, he does this and he protects me and I feel safe, and all these things that he does, like how he makes me feel and like what he does for me, right? And the kind of person he is. And then the guys are all like, oh, she looks so, and he describes her
Hot,
body
blah,
and
blah,
all
blah.
this stuff. And I'm like, motherfucker, where's like
Yeah.
like the people who, and I guess that's coming from someone who wants someone to see the good in me, right? Like what I'm capable of, how I make them feel. Like I want my husband, because I always tell my husband, like, I don't appreciate compliments that are on my looks, right?
Of course not. I
And
mean,
I said,
no, yeah.
I was like, so if you can say like, words of affirmation or compliments that are like my character or something I'm doing, like those mean more to me than, oh my God, your hair looks nice today. I mean, it doesn't look nice today because we're doing a video chat and I see my hair.
I think it actually looks cute, so I'm going to disagree, but whatever.
Well, I don't think my husband will ever say that my hair looks good, but that's what I want with a book boyfriend, is one to like really harp on like the character of the main character.
Yeah. And because this was a series and a long series, that didn't happen in book 1.
It does not. It did not happen in book 2, but it comes up in book 3.
Yeah. And also, my biggest irk with a bunch of books,
maybe it comes in book 2 in the middle.
a little bit in the book 2, but not enough for me. So I get what you're saying. But I think there is authors that one of my biggest irks with a majority of books is that they dive too deep in the inner dialogue or too deep in side characters that maybe don't matter to the story.
This one did
and so
This one did not do either of those. This was perfect.
No, but you did want a little bit more of his.
Like he was always commenting on like her blouse or her skirt, or like
how beautiful she looks in a clothes that he bought, or
yeah. And she was all sprawled out. Like, I get it. She's like a busty, like young thing. That's perfect. Yay. But what else?
See, I think he noticed.
I know, he noticed.
Again, I made it in my head. Yes. It wasn't in the book. It was
mentioned once, like he saw those things, but it wasn't like he never said those things to her. I don't know.
No, I agree.
I wish it was more. I wish it was more of that and less on her lip. But
yeah, and I think we all want more of that. And if you took the whole series, again, I haven't started the last book, but if you take the whole series together, it is good because it's giving us all that information. But because it was split up and made into certain like different books, I think that was the problem.
I really wish this was also one big book.
Me too. You could have narrowed down a lot of that other stuff. Yes.
Or just
even 3.
Or 2,
but
2 books.
Yeah, 5 or 6, not necessary. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I agree.
But I really did like it. I think whenever he saw her submission video, he immediately connected with her gumption. And whenever they talked and they had their first meet cute, there was a little bit of snarkiness and sassy and a little bit of inappropriateness. We'll just say that. And so he got to see her whenever her walls were down, but then it didn't harp on that the rest of the book. And that's what I'm trying to get across, if you're still listening to my rant, is that I wish he would have just commented a little bit more on the things that he liked with that, because that was the things that I liked about her.
Yeah. And he was an irritating, typical man with very little communication, I would say, because I felt
the right things, and he had the meaning behind it. You just didn't know it, and
she didn't know it. More importantly, she didn't know it. So again, we're going back to that miscommunication a bit, and it was irritating, but not enough to not have me love this book. So
I think you just love the book. Yeah.
Do you have quotes?
I got a few. I know you have a slew.
Yeah, I'm gonna narrow down because I know I have a billion of them.
I may read some of yours.
Yeah, you can do that. So my first quote is there anything else that you need while I'm here? I ask as calmly as I can manage. I don't understand what's happening, but I know that I need at this moment him. Henry takes a step closer to me, heat from his body radiating, his erection now pressed against my stomach, his words stirring my confusion. Don't tempt me, he growls. First of all, I love a good growl. I love a good growl.
So funny. Let me see. So this one is just like their interaction together. And he says, sometimes I'm forced to say things I don't mean. Flutters explode in my stomach. Does that mean it was a lie? So you don't think I'm an insecure, stupid little girl? His lips twist. Oh, you're that. Until you prove otherwise, anyway.
And yeah, and he's jaded by the people that came before her, and she's throwing him for a loop, is kind of how I feel about him. Okay. This is him talking to her, and she's his assistant at this time. I don't want Michael touching you like that again, or anyone here for that matter. Is he even allowed to demand that? She's thinking in her head. So she says, why not? And he says, because he presses his lip together, cutting himself off, because they're not good enough for you. I love it.
So one of mine is just like a one-liner. And this is like when they first meet, they have this like meet cute, and she doesn't realize who she's talking to. And so he is saying,
yeah, that's my favorite part, right in the beginning of the book.
He is saying goodnight to her, like goodbye. You know, he didn't say who he is. And she like is asking for his name. And he just whispers, apparently some people call me the big bad wolf, but I kind of like it. I was like, Henry. Da, 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 da.
Okay, I have two more. So, you are so goddamn sweet, he says. His lips skim over mine, and he whispers, I don't even like sweet. I like filthy and I like unemotional. This wasn't supposed to happen. I'm at a pivotal moment in my career, and you are fucking with my head. I'm all, dang.
One thing that we didn't talk about in this book review is the side characters. And I will say this about the side characters. I felt like every side character that the author brought into this mix was needed. And everybody had a place. Everybody had, it was all kind of like interconnected. From the, not his personal assistant, but the personal assistant in the past to his brother, his dad, her parents, the colleagues that she worked with, Michael the masseuse, like all these people, the news people, everybody had a part. And so one of the people that is staying in this bunkhouse with her is one of those, I think they're called like anestheticians. I'm probably saying this wrong.
Yes, esthetician. That's correct.
Okay. And she does.
Waxer.
She's a waxer. She does nails, hair. She does all the things to beautify yourself. Mm-hmm. And so this is a scene with the anesthetician friend. And she says, what are we doing in here? I ask as she closes the door and locks it, enclosing us in a small room with a padded table in the center. We are fixing that issue down there. With a long pointed finger, she gestures towards my crotch. My eyes widen as I realize what she wants to do. I open my mouth to say no, but she slaps her hand over my mouth. Have I led you astray yet today? Don't you feel a million times better already? Yes, I do, I admit. But I don't see how doing that will help you. What if you hook up with a guy while you're here? Do you want him to be getting down and dirty and choke on a mouthful of hair? I cringe. My face burns bright. Oh my God. I love this.
This is so good. This book is so good.
And I feel like I totally crapped on this book earlier, and I don't.
You didn't crap on this book. We talked about what we liked and what we didn't like, and it hit a personal nerve for you. And that is what happens with books as we're reading them. So,
but
I don't think you should have done it.
Okay, because I really like this book. I also want to say that I just wish Henry. One of the big things in this book was the fact that she was a virgin. And Henry, I always felt like he brought it up. And I I think that's what really irked me whenever I was waiting for you to pick a quote. I was like, I think it's just that she was a virgin and he was just really ready to like corrupt her, I guess is a good way of saying it. And I was just like, oh, like it was a big focus for them. And I know it's a big thing. But
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Okay. My last quote. It was not supposed to be like this. This is Henry talking. It was not supposed to be like this. You were not supposed to have this kind of impact on me, he whispers, leaning in to skim his wet lips over mine, never actually kissing me, torturing me as he has become so good at doing. I thought you didn't like sweet, she says. I don't know how I'm even capable of answering that, he smirks. I don't. But the idea of turning my sweet little assistant filthy is driving me insane.
Case in point, brought me home.
I brought it home. I knew that would work.
He just wants to corrupt her, and corrupt he does.
Well, and I do think that's how it started. I don't think he was like in love with her from the second that he saw that video in the beginning.
I think
everything how she reacts to him and what she says and what she does, all is lining up for him to like her.
Can I say this?
You can say anything you want, Amber.
I think you're wrong. I think he saw that video and he saw something in there and he was captivated. But I think it was like her character. Yes, she's beautiful. But I think he saw like her determination, her gumption, the fact that she was like an entrepreneurial spirit and she was like this country bumpkin trying to make a name for herself. And she basically was like, I need to escape. I need to leave. Like, I need space. And
she was
sanctuary, basically.
Yeah, she
saw that.
True.
And then whenever they had, I think he was like, okay, I got to stay clear with her. She's like,
she's trouble.
She's, trouble
for me.
Like,
trouble for me. Trouble for him.
And then like
and
temptation for him. And then whenever they had the meet cute and she started being snarky and sassy because she was, drunk off her ass, he was like, oh my gosh.
That's going to keep him interested for years to come.
Yeah, so I think that's what I wanted. I wanted more of that dynamic and him loving that aspect instead of him just whatever.
So that's what we thought, but it wasn't put into words or feelings, and that was the struggle.
That was my struggle. I wanted more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So good. And you get some of that in like book 2 and 3, but in this one
1 and 2 should have been 1.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it was so I do love the story. I love the side characters. I loved how everything was like woven in layers.
It made sense the way it was brought up. It wasn't from left field and it didn't like not matter. It like mattered. So because oftentimes they'll throw side characters in and you and I have gone on this podcast and go like there is no reason for these people or we wanted more of these people.
Yeah.
But
this was really well done. This was a good layer. It was really good. Okay, so let's talk about spice. What would you say the spice level is?
And I said 4 out of 5. My problem upon reflection of this and reading a bunch of Omega verses is that it was book 2, I think, that was really more spicy than the first one. So I might have to revise it to like a 3.5.
Solid. I said this was a solid 3 out of a 5. Like, folks. Okay. The pages practically sizzled with some seriously steamy scenes. And here's the kicker. It was all tastefully done.
Oh, yeah.
Been there, read that, feel of typical romances. But let me tell you, what really cranked up the heat isn't just the bedroom antics. It's how Henry's intense dominance intertwines with his fierce protectiveness. Oh, it's just Henry. Like, Henry makes it. And you're just not reading about some alpha male trope. The guy cares, and he cares deeply. And every challenge he throws at Abby's way is laced with this palpable, raw care that makes every push and pull between them intoxicating. I gave it a 3. I gave it a 3 because it was so much tension. Yeah. And it was side characters having scenes. And it was eye-opening for this virgin to be seeing certain things happening in bunkhouses and There was definitely a lot of sexual tension, which if you know Jen, this is also one of her favorite things.
Ugh.
And so, but it didn't really get like super spicy until like the very end of the book, like the last
Yeah.
third. So I would agree.
Yeah.
I would say it's a 3 out of a 5.
What I really appreciated most was how Henry's dominance balanced with his protectiveness. You could like feel he didn't talk about it, but you could feel like he cared about her. He didn't want to care about her, but like he did.
He so did.
The cliffhanger ending left me immediately reaching for the next book, as we talked about in the beginning, and the tension and emotional pull between Abby and Henry were strong enough to keep me hooked the entire way through. I did read it in less than a day. Like
She did. She
it
did.
was good. And
I
if you love forbidden romances, age gaps, and protective alpha type energy, there is plenty of that. So it was good.
I am also going to disagree with Jen with the fact the cliffhanger. Like when I read the cliffhanger,
Yeah.
I was annoyed. I was like, it was mainly because it was miscommunication at its finest. The cliffhanger
True.
was miscommunication, and I was like, ugh.
But it was
And
effective because it got me to literally pick up the book because I needed to understand what happened.
I did not.
Little did I know it was 5 or 6 books long. So
Yeah, it did not have that effect on me. I was able
yeah.
to put it down and read like 2 other books in the process. And then Jen was like, I'm
That's
like,
when you know she doesn't exactly like love the book, is when she reads books in between. For sure.
that
For
is
sure.
true. But
She'll read books in between a book we're both reading. So if the book doesn't catch her, she's like off.
no, I know.
And that's okay. That's a sign that we know if it's working or not working. So that
But
works for me.
it was but here's the thing, it's like I love the characters, I love the side characters, I love the storyline. The dad getting sick was a little too close to home for me because they had the same disease as my dad, and it just kind of like that was hard.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a small town girl. I was very naive going to college. She's a small town girl, very naive going into college, right? I didn't have Henry Wolf. I had a Seminole college football boyfriend. Oh, now Hubster.
Best friend to
Oh,
boyfriend situation.
best friend
It
to,
would make a good book.
oh my God, he's so cute. He's such an amazing man. But like the way that she was raised and brought up, she was brought up in a very strict religious,
Sheltered,
very
very
sheltered.
sheltered.
And I wasn't as
Mm-mm.
sheltered, but my grandmother was very strict in I was like Catholicism. And so I was raised in that kind of household. So I felt there was some similarities there, not a lot. But it was just I thought it was so good, but I did read other books in between. So
What did you rate this overall? I'm just curious.
I rated it as a 4 because I did love it, but I didn't like.
Hey, I was thinking you might be at a 3, so I'm
I
excited.
know,
I'll
but like
take your
now that I'm
4.
like, yeah, I did read 2 other books. And but I would say it's a 4. Like the series is a 4 for
Because
me.
if the story didn't hold up, it would definitely be a 3 for you.
Yeah.
Or less. Yeah. I
No,
agree
it
with.
would be a 3. I would never say I would. Yeah, I would keep reading
Well,
it.
we
But
don't talk about books that are less than 3s on this
so
podcast.
I
No worries.
loved it. I just like it was a fiery roller coaster of passion and intrigue. From the moment I stepped into like the world of the Wolf Hotel, I was hooked. Henry Wolf, his devastating smirk and a mind for devilish plots, is every bit the leading man you can't help but adore, despite your better judgments. Until you get to see his like point of view and why he's doing things, and you can see the story unravel.
And you don't really see that, in my opinion, to like 3.
You get little
You
glimpses.
get glimpses and you are hopeful, but
Yeah.
you don't actually hear it from his mouth until 3.
No. So that was hard. And then you have like this Abigail with her blend of like being naive but spunky a little. It was the
That's
perfect
even.
it was a perfect foil to his like hardened edges. So I gave it a 4. Yes, I wish things were a little bit different. I wish there wasn't so much miscommunication, but it brought the story together. Yes, I wish the books were condensed into like 2 instead of like 5 or 6. But I loved the side characters, and I loved Henry's mouth, and I loved I love it when guys do the right thing, even when it's hard, and don't tell. This is probably my problem because I don't like miscommunication, but I love it when they do the right thing no matter what. And I love it when they do the right thing, but don't broadcast it and showboat themselves. And Henry
Yes.
does that. He does the right thing no matter what, no matter how hard it is for him. He sacrifices so much to do the right thing, and he doesn't
Yeah.
showboat it. He
And
he doesn't tell the person he needs to tell. Like,
correct.
so
I gave it a 5, obviously. I gave it a
obviously.
5. And I will say, through the first book and the second book, probably more in the second book, I was a little bit in a love-hate relationship with him. Like, there'd be times where I'm like, "Oh my god, I hate this Henry. Why am I reading this?" For about 5 seconds until I turn 5 pages, and then I'm like, "Oh, I love him. He's so perfect."
So
You know,
wonderful.
like, he is a good book boyfriend. He would be a huge red flag in real life, but yes, and as you read through the books, you see they unfold all the reasons behind everything. So I think that's why I loved the series as a whole, but I am totally in agreement with you. I think the whole book should have been 3 books. That's my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good though. It was, and I'm very glad that we went into this like Wolf Hotels world.
Yeah.
Really good.
And this is one of the longest podcast episodes, but I think it's because I really loved it so much. And you were giving your honest feedback about certain things. And I agree with almost all of what you said,
Almost,
except your rating.
almost.
It was wrong.
My rating was wrong. I said 4. That's pretty big.
No, 4 is exciting. I literally thought you were going to say a 3. So
Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, I liked it. I don't know. I loved Henry.
if
I
somebody
loved
came to you
her.
and said, I love a bossy billionaire age gap situation, but I want a huge big series, would you
Oh,
recommend it?
huge big series, yeah.
Okay.
But you have to be, and I think that's maybe why I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should say 3 because I
Because
have
your your favorite one, Psycho Shifters,
it's huge.
is how many books?
It's 6 books and they're thick. They're thick bitches. So, and I know. I know. I know.
Bitches, quote unquote.
They are, but I love it. I love that series.
And so
But
do I. By the way, I'm reading it. You guys will talk about it in a bit. But
so excited that
yeah,
she's reading it. But
I am like, I want to get off this podcast recording so I can finish the 4th
fifth,
book. So I'm 5th book. So
fifth
I'm
book.
so,
Well, I know
yeah, 1, 2,
you
3,
are.
4, 5. Yeah, the 5th book. So I'm like very excited. So you'll be expecting an episode coming soon from us.
So yes, but when I read that one, I read it all the way through. Like I didn't even stop. I didn't like I even bought
Correct.
I read them all on
It
Kindle.
was utterly your personality too. Like the
That's
snarky, the what
that's smart, but the last 3 books are my personality.
yes.
And so for me to get like really hooked on a series, there's only like one other series that I've read the whole thing without stopping, without reading other books in between. And so Psycho Shifters, and
Too.
it's a dark mafia romance. So this one wasn't one that I could.
I get it.
But Jen, on the other hand, blew
Oh,
through
don't
this
you?
so
I
fast.
was like, I'll quit the podcast. I'm reading all these books.
There was
Like to me, it was that good.
Well, there you go. I rate it as a 4-ish, and then Jen is a solid 5.
Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in, babes. Thanks for listening so long. This is a long one, but I had to talk about it. If you loved hanging out with us today, don't forget to check out the show notes for all of the juicy details and links.
And you can also discover your next book boyfriend. Maybe it's Henry Wolf in our epic book boyfriend quiz, which is linked in our show notes. And of course, follow us for more spicy reads, hot takes, and unfiltered fun. Until next time, love, stay morally gray.
Woo! See you later.